to our aid budget and all budgets would be far more profound if we go back to instability, and I'm not prepared to do it.
Nigel Farage.
Thank you. It may be a great irony that a Remainer Prime Minister used Brexit freedoms as effectively as he did yesterday. Indeed, as Number 10 briefed, we are now in a unique position compared to the rest of Europe, and yesterday was a triumph. I also applaud him making such positive words about President Trump and our relationship with America, even if nobody behind him agrees. But here's the key. President Zelensky has now accepted that he's going to sign the minerals agreement with America. And America's going to put in $100 billion or whatever it is, and thousands of Americans will be in Ukraine. Is that of itself enough of a security guarantee? No. Or does it mean that we need to send British troops? And if we do, given the size of our army, how many?
The mineral deal is not enough on its own. But can I just remind him, Russia is the aggressor. Zelensky is a war leader whose country has been invaded. And we should all be supporting him and not fawning over Putin.
Joanna Baxter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the Prime Minister's statement and can I congratulate him on the excellent leadership he's shown on the international stage. Does my right honourable friend agree with me that for any lasting peace to be achieved in Ukraine, Russia must return the 19,546 children that they have stolen from Ukraine?
Well, I thank her for raising this issue because this is absolutely crucial. It's a moral outrage that these children have been taken, and of course we must ensure their safe return, and that has to be part of any discussion, but she's quite right to raise it. We should do so more often.
Sir Roger Gale.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition has quite rightly and properly shown her support for the Prime Minister's position, and I hope that he'll take comfort from the fact that he has the support of at least these backbenches as well. Mr. Speaker, those of us who have had, in my case, through the Council of Europe, dealings with the Russians, know only too well that this administration, Putin's administration, cannot be trusted. And that security guarantees, therefore, are absolutely vital if we are to succeed in a peace agreement and not a surrender. A surrender would lead to the inevitable further extent of activities in Georgia and Moldova, and then possibly in the Baltic states as well. Is that not right?
I agree with him completely. We know Putin's ambitions. We know that he's not a man to keep his word. We absolutely have to guard against those risks, which is why security guarantees have to go in relation to any deal that must be done. And we must be vigilant on all fronts in relation to Putin because, as we know from our history, instability in Europe inevitably washes up on our shores. This is about our national security just as much as it's about the sovereignty of Ukraine.
Oliver Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I praise in the strongest possible terms the Prime Minister's strong and pitch-perfect leadership, particularly when it's come to the defence budget increase and his statesmanship through this difficult time. He's spoken for the nation and indeed been the leader of the free world this past few days. While this negotiation is ongoing and Ukraine is still being bombarded, will he make sure that our partnership with Ukraine goes deeper, that they still get the drones, the planes, the arms that they need to make sure they can stay at the table while he's making his deal?
He makes a very good point, which is peace through strength. It is vitally important that Ukraine's put in the strongest possible position to fight on if necessary. There may not be a deal, or to be in the strongest position to negotiate if there are negotiations. On both fronts, we mustn't let up. On the contrary, we should double down and provide more support.
Sammy Wilson.
Speaker, on behalf of my party, can I also congratulate the Prime Minister on the work that he has done this week, both in America and here in the United Kingdom. He has made a commitment to putting support to Ukraine for defend any peace agreement. But given the state of our armed forces and the overstretched nature of those forces, how sure is he that he can deliver on that commitment? And does he not agree that there needs to be a continued role for America in the defence of democracy against terrorising tyrants?
Well, I thank you for his question and for his support. I do have confidence that we have the necessary capability. I don't take these considerations lightly. He's absolutely right that we should do this in conjunction with the US, working in the way that we have for many decades now, that has ensured peace here and in Europe. We should continue to work in that way.
Muraz, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister's careful and considerate leadership this weekend. Does he agree with me that Putin will feast on Western division, and the only people smiling on Saturday were people in Moscow, Tehran and Tbilisi, and that at this delicate moment it is vitally important that every corner of this House continues to show the united front that the country expects and the House has shown over the last 3 years?
I agree with him. Putin does feast on division, and when I was leader of the opposition, amongst the reasons I supported the then government was because Putin would have been the only winner if there was division in this House, and that's why I commend the leader of the opposition, the party opposite, for continuing that unity, because it demonstrates to Putin that we're a united House on this issue.
Sir Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I just point out that President J.D. Vance seems to be in favour of free speech, but not free nations. Yeah. And isn't it, don't we also have to point out what others are saying is there is no history of Vladimir Putin proving a trustworthy treaty maker, and that there can be no security, there is no path to a peace in Ukraine that is secure without the engagement of the Americans, the failure of their support risking a wider war in Europe that would inevitably draw them in. Can we quietly and diplomatically keep making those points to the White House so that we have a chance of peace in our continent?
Well, he's quite right. The history is that Putin is untrustworthy. That is why the Ukrainians are so concerned that there should be a security guarantee in relation to any deal. They've been here before. They've seen the credibility of his word. They know he's untrustworthy. That is why they're so concerned. We share their concern. We're working with them. He's quite right that we need the US to be working alongside us and with us in the way we have done for decades to ensure the security and defence of Europe. And I will continue to ensure I can do everything I can to ensure that that arrangement that has proved so successful, the alliance that is NATO, the most successful, important alliance we've ever had, continues and goes from strength to strength.
Calvin Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has our gratitude for steering a very difficult path over recent days, and I welcome his statement earlier. Defence is a vehicle for social mobility, career security and opportunity for our young people, as it has been for me, and defence has deep historical links with Londoners, the Gunners, Hammers and Leyton Orients. But many Londoners are not actively engaged by defence at present. Would the Prime Minister agree with me that we must engage every part of our country, not only with the serious challenge we face, but with the opportunities too?
I do think this needs to be a whole-nation approach, including young people. This morning, we had a number of small businesses in the defence sector with apprentices, with young people, who explained to me why they wanted to work in the defence sector, and that was not only the secure, well-paid, skilled job that they would get, but also the pride that they would feel in working in defence and security of their country.
Leila Brown.
Following that question before me, actually the opportunities are not just for defence, they're also for the NHS. I went in January, in the week of Trump's inauguration, cross-party to visit Ukraine so that we could offer our support. And while there, I had the privilege of meeting veterans, many of whom had lost limbs, had world-leading prosthetics. And the fact is the Ukrainians are now world